So what I wanted to talk about today was federation among the licensed carriers that EdgeCast has helped stand up and deploy today. So I'm going to take you through a couple different pieces. To be clear, this is a commercial CDN federation, as in money is bidirectionally getting paid to all of the CDN operators in this. It's not a pilot or a proof of concept or a rebadging of an old offering. It's a true federation among CDNs that are owned and controlled by carrier CDNs. So the definition of federated CDN I want to use to establish this is carrier CDN and cloud operators have built a lot of capacity out there. That's EdgeCast included and some of our other partners. And there's a promise to kind of combine all that, and that's what people have been talking about a bit today. So just EdgeCast are now providing this to a CDN federation we're calling Open CDN to content owners today. So what does this look like? Just kind of an overview picture so we all know what we're talking about. There are 3 CDNs that do not interconnect. They're on separate networks. They run on separate hardware. They have separate control planes. They are controlled by separate companies. And the sort of idea here is when you combine all these together, instead of offering 2 terabits per second on these various networks, we can actually grow it into a much larger network that's a seamless experience to the end users or to the content owners themselves. So this is what we consider a federated CDN, the idea of combining the capacity of independently run and operated CDNs. And today we think we have a fair amount of capacity out there on the edge in a combined format. So when I spoke earlier, I was talking about the future of the CDN for EdgeCast lies in enabling carrier partners. This is kind of what I was getting at. So the question is, how does it work? So if you're a content owner, you're only going to log into one of those networks. You're not even going to know that there's other networks involved, unless they want to tell you. If it doesn't work that way, and there isn't a single place for a content owner to go, then they really should go to Akamai because they have the big experience, or they should come to EdgeCast directly. But in this case, you go to one place, and your configuration makes it onto 3 networks, and it just works, and it delivers best-in-breed regional traffic. So we've developed a patented technology here to operate and federate configurations, billing data, and network information through a central broker and an automated sharing process. So much in the way today, and this is the way that we would like to think about CDN growing, when you talk about IP transit or peering or those types of relationships, there's no reason that CDN can't be the same way. If somebody wants to get on your network via CDN, they should pay you, just like they pay you for IP transit or pay you for peering. It shouldn't be something like a new model that you get blessed to offload traffic. There should be some exchange of money in that particular process, and that's the way we're thinking about it. So if we look at how we actually go about doing this, EdgeCast has set up a portal that actually allows people that are connecting to OpenCDN to do capacity exchange. And so what does capacity exchange offer you? Well, it does the same thing that we were talking about earlier, which is you can handle large customers or overflow traffic or flash traffic simply by redirecting traffic to the other network in the case of overload. And you can offer excess capacity to the marketplace for both network savings and revenue generation. So just to give you guys a sense, last month we paid our carrier partners for a substantial amount of traffic that we offloaded that was basically on-net traffic. So they got both the network savings and revenue generation. The other thing that CDN Federation can offer you is getting to market faster. So for instance, if you were going to deploy 30 POPs worldwide or just in your own network, on day one you could federate capacity with EdgeCast. And then as that grows, or as you build your POPs on, the traffic will start to shift on the POPs. So you can offer a commercial-grade CDN solution, as EdgeCast has in the market today, to your customers. And then you can quickly, as you're building POPs and capacity on your own network, shift the traffic onto your own network. So it means a shorter build-out time to market, and then you get joint marketing opportunities with partners. So For instance, working with PACnet, we can get regional support, and they can get support outside of the country, outside of the region for them, but it helps us things like local language support and sort of in-region sales folks. It also allows sales of your capacity in places where you may not have feet on the ground to help sell that. So today, and this is just where we stand today with Federation, EdgeCast and its licensed customers are in commercial relationships. We've been serving traffic and exchanging payments between CDN operators for most of this year. We're benefiting today, and as we spoke about in the last presentation, we are benefiting today for having an Asian regional carrier, getting into markets that we'd never get into otherwise, or have the cost-benefit analysis to do so. And in exchange, carriers can deal with being able to offer a global CDN without having to do a global build-out. And where this is really critical is that if you are a regional carrier, even if you're a giant regional carrier, it's hard to get into other networks and other markets. And so not having to do that or worry about that, and knowing that there are other carriers that are doing that, and you're getting access, the same sort of high QoS access to their networks that you're getting on your own network, really gives you the ability to know that you're bringing the best in market product out. So what I wanted to talk about is, there's the CDNI and the IETF, and the pilots and things that are going on around that are realizing a lot of lessons. And we've learned a lot of similar lessons, and there's been a lot of talk about it. And I wanted to talk a little bit about kind of the big three issues that you have to deal with when operating interconnection of CDN, independent of just the basic technology sharing. So the pricing part is interesting, because the question is, how do you price a CDN that somebody else operates? And so there's a few things you have to take into account. There's a cost associated with delivering traffic, but the cost is interesting. So a cost for a regional carrier to deliver on their own network may be a lot smaller than my cost to send that same traffic to them as an operator. It has to be market-based. So as we learned earlier, in Asia, with all the undersea cables that go through there, it's much more expensive to operate there. And now you have to take into account this sort of new generation. I think the Limelight guy earlier called it Transit 2.0, but there's a new kind of peering. So the peering involves actually shifting of content and storage so that you can get local delivery. And so the pricing really should reflect the fact that there is going to be bidirectional sharing and understanding of that, much in the way today that peering deals with that as well. The next issue is kind of around service level agreements. And so what a lot of people are wondering is, well, if I delegate out to another CDN, can I offer the same service level agreement that I offer on my own CDN? And so this is where business decisions have to be made. You really need to have a compatible service level agreement, and you can't offer different customers different service level agreements. Now, inevitably, that'll happen, and there will be inherent risk in there. But you really have to sort of make those decisions before you go into Federation. And fortunately for us, the CDN kind of service level agreements are relatively standard across the board. But this can create contention based on expectation in the marketplace. So depending on who your Federation partners are, if they're not sort of being held to the same level of service that you want to acquire, you're really going to have to make decisions on whether or not you can do it. The other half of that is the mechanisms that exist today for monitoring CDNs, the third-party mechanisms that are generally used for determining SLAs, may or may not hold in this marketplace, depending on carrier penetration of those third-party monitoring solutions. So that kind of takes me into monitoring itself. And when we think about monitoring, if you are the primary CDN operator, and that means you own the customer, this is not a handoff relationship. You are going to be the person that owns the customer here. You have to make sure that you're monitoring all the networks in the Federation. You have to make sure that they are staying up. You have to make sure that if you do have an SLA guarantee, you have some amount of information that you can fall back on. And so this is where I say that third-party monitoring solutions may or may not work. And to give you guys an example, like if you look at Gomez and Keynote, they have kind of a good coverage of the whole United States, but if you wanted to sort of part out one network on the United States, they may only have one node there. And so if you're routing based on on-net traffic for sharing to help with the carrier offload problem, you have to keep an extra set of monitors on there that actually monitor the individual POPs and delivery locations. And so we've developed some special tooling around that to augment that, and also to help with routing issues to make sure you can route around it if there are issues. But yeah, it's important to keep these in mind as you're thinking about deploying a CDN. And the interesting thing about this is the monitoring has helped us realize that we are getting better QoS when we deliver to end users. So from a CDN perspective, as a CDN operator, EdgeCast has actually noticed that we are improving performance to customers based on the fact that they are on net and closer to end users. So that was the bulk of the federation that we are offering today. And just this is something that we're in practice in commercialization here. These are independent entities running EdgeCast software and sharing traffic, and a peering relationship is kind of the take-home message for where we see the federation. I think as we see this market evolving and other federations popping up, the opportunity for now interconnecting, now that we have some of the underlying technology, will be really exciting. Are there any questions? I'll start there.
What happens if the end user is outside the federation? So if he actually moves outside one of your network partners, is there a way to provide a CDN-enabled solution to deliver that content?
So today, if you look at PACnet that's delivering strictly in Asia, anywhere else in the world they'll overflow to EdgeCast. So since we're a CDN operator, we can essentially provide that global footprint.
So you're the fill-in.
We're the fill-in for the national, and that's a key part of making this federation be a viable commercial entity. Question there?
So you mentioned the content owner forms a relationship with the one operator. Is it the operator they're forming a relationship, or is it EdgeCast they're forming a relationship?
So it depends. So if it's my customer, they have the relationship with me. If it's PACnet, they have the relationship with PACnet. So they have an enterprise sales force, and they have their own CDN, entirely independently owned and operated by them.
So say they sign up with PACnet, and the content is being passed from wherever. So it is traversing many other operators' network. So the exchange of commercial exchanges between PACnet and the other operator. So, but they never, PACnet and the other operator did not enter into an exchange. They entered it through EdgeCast. Is that correct?
No. So they can independently make their own deals. So we have an operator exchange that keeps track of billing. You essentially get a wholesaler account in the EdgeCast portal, or in the PACnet portal, or the other carrier's portal. And given that, you go in there and clear billing just as if there's a wholesaler. So today, if you license the EdgeCast software, you're given a wholesaler, a partner, and a control panel, media control panel, levels of hierarchy. And so we actually have wholesalers on our network today that are hosting companies and things like that. And the open CDN model works the same way. So we get one bill based on our total usage on the 95.5 with the wholesale relationships that we have.
So each operator has to clear the monthly or whatever it is every month with all the other operators?
Yeah, we're just a wholesale customer to them.
Okay.
So they come in, grab the traffic information, grab the features that are turned on, send us a bill, and that's the way it works.
And who's managing the control plane? Is EdgeCast managing the control plane? How the traffic is being directed?
No, that's all within the operator. It's their own CDN. So when we talk about our licensed offering, it's an entire suite of EdgeCast software from the control plane to the end edge caches, the entire thing you need to run the CDN as a business.
But if it has to offload?
If it has to offload, then it has to go through the sharing portal, which is our open CDN exchange, which for the time being we're running. Another question?
So you guys are both going after carriers, but differently. I'm curious if you could both kind of tell us what you think the biggest differentiator versus the other one, or what the biggest value proposition is in terms of why someone would choose you versus EdgeCast. I'm just talking to Akamai. I'm talking to EdgeCast, why someone would choose you versus Akamai solution. What are the key differences amongst the two different solutions?
Competitive panel, yes. You want to go first?
Well, I can try to frame it. Today, we offer an embedded kind of managed offering. We offer a wholesale offering, and we offer a real licensed standalone offering as we see it. And we have traffic to share with the network themselves and revenue to generate for them. And so that's the way I would see the difference of EdgeCast from Akamai.
Yeah, and I would, from an Akamai perspective, I think when we talk about solving the business problem behind Federation today, obviously we're using our intelligent platform, which has thousands of locations and hundreds of thousands of servers to fill in the gaps. The other advantage is we bring a whole lot of traffic to the table. If one of the objectives is to offload traffic, we can do that pretty effectively day one without having to transparently cache or try and statistically cache the entire internet. And then we also offer things like resellers for advanced services. People like Verizon and Telefonica even though they have their own media CDN, they resell a lot of our advanced services to enterprises. So we try and sell the whole value proposition that we bring to the table.
Question back there?
Earlier you showed two providers plus EdgeCast in your federation. If provider A is a customer or partner of EdgeCast and federation, does their network get replicated to provider B, and provider B then form part of the CDN network for provider A?
So it has to be actively entered to in a commercial arrangement, and then it has to be actively shared. So there's no auto replication without control by the initial operator. And EdgeCast doesn't act as a broker for the sharing of content between networks. They would enter in that relationship independently of us.
So they used to be direct EdgeCast and replicated to provide the relationship.
We don't actually direct them. There's a central portal. So if you enable it for sharing and set up the activation and go through the exchange mechanism we have, they have their own accounts for this and log in, and they can do it without us. Any other questions?
We're on time.
All right.
We'll be around for a few minutes if anyone wants to engage personally one-on-one. Thanks.
Thank you.